Hi and welcome everyone, I am Friar Tuck. This is my epoch and this is the third video in a series of videos talking about the 4 pillars to end homelessness. What we're going to be talking about is the law society or the law class, because after dealing with the donor class and the political class, we have to deal with the law class. One of the biggest obstacles that the homeless face out here is dealing with the police force and dealing with policing in general. When you're in probably one of the worst spots of your life, at least at that point in time, and you have an interaction with a police officer, in most instances, if they're looking for a reason to be able to take you to jail because of whatever reason, whether it be their mandate or just kind of the community attitude towards the homeless, you could accumulate a criminal record, and now all of a sudden that closes off opportunities for jobs, and that closes off opportunities for housing. And so now all of a sudden, if you actually want somebody to become productive and get back in society, now you've taken away probably some of their best opportunities, because when you're at the worst spot in your life, instead of actually having somebody be there, advocate for you and help you get yourself back on track, because unless this is something that is that you have a propensity of doing this, you're constantly doing something like this, it may only be just a one-off. And you need to be able to have opportunities for people to be able to get their life turned around and be able to get their life straight, especially the first few times you have an interaction with the police when you're homeless. In a lot of ways, because it's your first interactions, it kind of scares you straight a little bit. And so therefore you want to be able to do the right thing and not have to deal with jail, because not only are you sleeping on the streets, but now you got to go to jail, and then when you get back out, you're going to have to reaccumulate everything, and any prospects you may have had for employment are now off the table. And so therefore it becomes counterproductive to the homeless person. There has to be a happy medium. I, being a homeless person, I only get to talk about how I would like it to look, or what type of solutions I would like to see, because in the same way you don't let your children tell you what their punishment is going to be, the law society, the police force themselves, they themselves have to come up with something that's going to rebuild trust within the community and also be a positive influence on the community. Because as a personal story, when I first became homeless the first few times, one time I was in a neighborhood and I was knocking doors and I was asking for work, and I was doing landscaping for dirt cheap in a rich neighborhood. I mean, I was making out like a bandit. I actually had to bring a couple extra people with me just so that I could keep the work coming in. Well, I ended up knocking on a door and I scared this little old lady, who called the police, and the police show up, and the guy gets out and says, "Hey, we're looking for somebody." I said, "Oh yeah, no, that was me. I was going and knocking doors. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm trying to accomplish," so on and so forth. The guy looks at me and says, "You know what? I wish more homeless were like you." Got in his car and went off. Now the guy sitting next to me had enough felonies to put him away for a lifetime, and he was sweating bullets. But when you have the opportunity as a police officer to make a positive impact within the homeless community, because now what that did is that impacted how I would approach homelessness moving forward. I always look for more productive things to do, legitimate things to do. I wasn't going black market. I wasn't trying to go down the path that would get me hemmed up and put in jail. I was going down the path that was going to lead me to something legitimate and productive. Hence why I do YouTube now. So each time I would take that approach because of a positive influence within the police force. Now imagine if that happened on a grander scale, where police officers were working within their community and within the homeless community, and seeing the good things and the right things that were happening, and being able to kind of push a person in the right direction, even if they look at it, it's like, "Hey, look, this is you're doing this is going to get you in trouble. Let's try and move you towards something that's going to be more productive, that's going to allow you to form something more legitimate." So you not only have the ability to work with the individual, but you also have the ability to influence them and move them into a different headspace. And as a police officer, as somebody that is there to enforce the law, you have the ability to make a positive impact on the homeless community and direct them in the right way. And for example, like with this whole no tent thing, you come by, you see a guy, he's, and you see that he's got a mess, but he's got a tent down. Well, you know what? It's probably raining that night. Are you going to be a jerk to him, tell him to take his tent down or da-da-da-da-da? Or are you going to say, hey, look, I need you to keep this area clean. As long as you keep this area clean, I'll leave you alone. But if you don't, if you cannot clean up after here, I'm going to come, I'm going to run you off. Well, guess what? What do you think that person's going to do? Now that they have incentive, they have an opportunity to be able to get a peaceful night's sleep and not be bothered, and all they got to do is keep their area clean and not be a nuisance and just kind of sit there quietly and be in a little cubbyhole like I've been doing for several days, okay? That has the ability to have a positive impact within the community because it's less trashed. You have the homeless starting to take responsibility and take ownership because now they have their own little place where they can just kind of sit back and go, okay, and all that would take is just a little bit of compassion and a little bit of direction from law enforcement professionals doing something like that to actually make more positive impacts. Because you could sit there and something else that I would like to see is I would like to see that the police force kind of not necessarily make it mandatory, but part of you getting promotions or anything else like that is your community involvement. And part of that community involvement means giving, let's say 5 hours a week of your own personal time in the community, helping out at one of the different community organizations, and you're there to be compassionate, to get to know the individuals. Because if you're going in a homeless shelter and you're serving a meal and you're kind of helping keep order and offset their budgetary costs as far as manpower, so that they can redirect the resources more towards helping the homeless. You also have the ability to see the people that you've interacted with when you had the uniform on, when you don't have the uniform on, and so therefore there's a lot more trust, and there's a lot less anxiety between the homeless individual and the police officer, because you're not there under with a badge on. You're just there as a human being, just saying hi, getting to know them, like, hey, I know I picked you up last week for this. What are you doing? How are you moving? Da 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 da. Get to know them, kind of have a like kind of like a big brother type thing. Because one of the biggest things that I noticed here within the homeless community is that a lot of the homeless that you see that are trashy and kind of falling apart and not right upstairs are very childish in nature. Something happened to them at some point in time, or they just degraded to this through their addiction, to the point where they don't even know how to function as a basic human being. So being able to get a shower every day, being able to do your 7 activities of daily living, being able to do all those different things, and in a lot of ways, I think that it would be something very positive, and it would help with policing the community, not only the homeless community, but keeping safety within the community, because the homeless are going to know everything that's going on as far as the underground. And if they have a positive community to be a part of, they're not going to do anything to destroy that, because it's very hard to find good things out here. And so this would make a positive change, not only within the homeless community, but I think within society as a whole, because it goes back to an age-old practice that our police force used to be. You had to live in the neighborhoods in which you were patrolling, so that you were part of the community, so you knew what was going on in the community, past just basic observance and showing up for calls. It made you an important part of the community, because when I was growing up, we knew which house the police officer lived in, which was about 3 blocks down, and we knew that he was in the community. And so when you saw him, make sure to say hi to him, introduce yourself, get to know him, because he's just gonna walk around the neighborhood, because he does that on his free time. Okay, and so that's the reason why where I'm from in Portland, Oregon, we had a much better relationship with our police officers, because they still did that. Now, they don't anymore, but they used to. That was something that worked. Not only did it keep crime down, but it made sure that that rational and reasoned justice was being administered, because not every time does a charging instrument need to be made. Not every time does somebody need to go to jail. Not everybody does somebody need to go in handcuffs. sometimes you just need to sit down and have a heart-to-heart, man-to-man, just guy-to-guy talk, and just sit there and say, look, man, you need to get your stuff together, and here's where you're going wrong, here's where you can go right, and here's what's going to help you move forward in a better direction in life. This is just my offer. You should take it or leave it. And at that point in time, you really bring an opportunity in for everybody to kind of bond, for trust to be made. And that is the biggest problem that we have, and the reason why we're doing defund the police and all this other stuff is because our police no longer are part of the community, and we need to bring them back into our community, because it's going to bring safety and security back to the community, because they will know more of what's going on in the community than anything else. Okay, because that is their job, because not only do they live there, and it's for their own, it's for the safety of their family, but it's also part of their job in the security of their community, which also plays into the safety of their family. So therefore, in a lot of ways, they have a conflict of interest, because they want to protect their family. They're going to protect their community. Okay, but when you no longer require them to protect their community, then all they have to worry about is their family. And then what happens when things really go south? Anyways, thanks for being here, guys. You guys know how to help the channel. Become a subscriber, share the video. Everything else is down in the description. I'd love to hear your thoughts. See you in the next video.